What I didn't expect was how fast everything unraveled. I made the decision to actually just go part-time. Like, I'm not going to leave it all the way. I'm just going to go part-time. I'm going to free up some time. Well, with network marketing, that caused quite the avalanche, and I lost half my business the first month.
Welcome to the All Out As Is podcast. I am your host, Adia, and Brene Brown once said, one day you'll tell your story of how you overcame what you went through, and it will be someone else's survival guide. These are my stories, my lessons learned, my experiences. Through this podcast, you will find grace for your past, purpose and alignment for your future, and contentment in this moment as you live all out your way, just as you are. If you aren't already following me on social media, please check out Adia Dance on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and adiadance.com.
Hey, thank you so much for tuning in to the podcast. Thanks for coming back. And if this is your first time listening, thank you so much for choosing to check it out. So I've chosen that I'll refer to certain people and experiences by different names. So not in an effort to hide anything, but because the names that I chose are actually really symbolic. They hold the emotion and the meaning of what I walked through and ultimately what I've learned, at least so far. So thanks again for diving in with me. And I just want to put it out there ahead of time that, like, if you're listening to something that I share, if it resonates with you, if it's relatable, or maybe it's relatable to someone that you know and you're like, oh my gosh, they need to hear this. I just want to invite and encourage you to send it to them as soon as you have that thought. I know for me, a lot of times I can hear a podcast and then think, oh, I've got to send it to so-and-so. Oh my gosh, they would love to hear this. But then by the end, I've forgotten that. And then that person potentially misses out. So I'm just inviting you to press pause, send this to someone who you feel like would really benefit from hearing my story. And as I said in the intro, my story, I'm confident that it will be someone else's survival guide, just like so many other people's stories have been my survival guide. So when it comes to the experiences and the names, I'm going to start with one that's actually been the hardest to let go of, and I'm going to refer to it as Harvest. So Harvest is the name I'm using for actually an event. It's an event that I built with really everything I had, my heart, my soul, my time, my energy, my resources. So much was sacrificed to build Harvest. It was really born out of a big vision. The amount of love and dedication behind it is just, it's immeasurable. But I also shared it with others whose intentions didn't fully align with mine. And I didn't realize it. I don't know, maybe I was in a honeymoon phase, or I was blind to it, or the others were just really that good at kind of showing the true intentions. But for me, over time, the environment around it became so misaligned with who I was and what I stood for. And I fought for Harvest. I really did. I fought hard. But eventually I realized that this fight was no longer healthy for me. Not for me, not for my family, not for my kids, not for the community that I love so dearly. So I made a powerful choice to let it go. And yet, even after years of healing, so healing that I'd done, personal healing on deep childhood trauma, on heartbreak, on pain, on just so many levels and layers of my identity, for some reason, Harvest still hurt. And it was so frustrating to me. It was frustrating because I didn't want this one thing to still have a hold on me. Yet every time I see the name, I cringe and I get anxiety. And if I think about it too long, my blood starts to boil when I think about what I went through. I wanted to just be able to hear the name, see the name, hear someone else talk about it, and not feel like this wound was reopening. So what I actually came to realize is that while I thought I'd done a lot of healing work regarding harvest, I'd really just put bandages over this wound. And I really thought that that was enough to protect me. But again, every time I came across a post or heard someone said how harvest had changed their life, the Band-Aid it was like it was ripped off again, and I was left exposed once again. I just really wasn't allowing the wound to truly heal because the pain felt so freaking personal. So personal and really deep. And that was really the part that broke me the most. Because even though harvest doesn't belong to me anymore, I built it. I led it. I gave it everything. And it, in a way, felt like I had to pretend like I didn't. Like I had to shrink myself down and disconnect from what was like deeply mine, like at my core. And honestly, it just kind of created a wound I didn't know how to close. But something kind of happened because I began to notice like kind of a little phenomenon that had been occurring in my life. And I thought, you know what? I've healed from so many other things in recent years. And ultimately, I was able to look at those healings to kind of give me clues on how to move forward from this. I wanted to so desperately. I really, really, really did. So here's another fun alias type name that really describes kind of a situation I went through. So Shadow Fox. So Shadow Fox is someone who gained my trust by really playing the long game, only to use it for his own agenda. When I realized what was going on, because I confronted the situation, I felt literally like I was trying to be taken out by an assassin from the inside. And that betrayal stung. But I saw it for what it was. I confronted it, I let it go, and I moved forward. And honestly, I'm grateful for the lesson and the strength that I got from this situation. So when I'm reflecting on this, I'm like, I was able to see it for what it was and let it go. Another really important person in my story, I will refer to as Oak. So Oak, like a wonderful, strong, powerful oak tree, this is the person that I built my family with. A really, really good man, a super loving father, truly a steady presence in my life for so many years. But that chapter of our relationship came to a close. And even though it wasn't easy, I found peace in knowing that I'm proud. I'm proud of the life that we built together. And I'm thankful for the season that we shared and the children that we raised. And that chapter is complete. And I really don't carry any bitterness. I have only gratitude. And so in thinking about harvest, I'm like, this was a good thing, even though it came to a close. And at this point, like I said with Oak, I just don't have any bitterness. I have such positive thoughts about this person. So another life journey lesson situation I will refer to as Climb Co., like Climb Company, the Climb Company. So this was the first network marketing company that I had really poured like so much energy into. I made the decision to go all in, and I literally gave it all that I had. But I made a decision to walk away from it. And that decision was made out of love for my daughter, whom I so deeply wanted a good relationship with. And I felt like with the time that I was devoting to the Climb Co., I was going to be missing out and sacrificing what I thought was necessary to build a good relationship with her. So I made the decision to walk away out of love for my daughter, for my family as a whole, and really for the parts of me that needed to breathe again. What I didn't expect was how fast everything unraveled. I made the decision to actually just go part-time. Like, I'm not going to leave it all the way. I'm just going to go part-time. I'm going to free up some time. Well, with network marketing, that caused quite the avalanche. And I lost half my business the first month. And within a few more months, it was like nearly almost gone, all the money that I was getting from this business. And it was pretty devastating to see something that I had built so passionately and with so much energy and, again, time, resources that I'd sacrificed so much for. Like, it was so hard to see it all just be gone. And what it left was, it left a really empty space and a void. And it was like, this was the space where my business used to be. It's the thing that was taking up the time that ultimately had been, let's see, how do I say this? Ultimately, it had been a distraction, I guess, from pain that I had been suppressing for years and years and years, that I didn't even realize I was suppressing. It was the typical staying busy to not have to deal with the pain, but I didn't even realize I had the pain to deal with because I thought I was so good at pushing it down. Not just pushing it down, eradicating it. I was like, I don't feel this. This doesn't bother me. I hadn't processed things. For example, my dad passing away suddenly when I was 15 years old. Like, the next day, I just realized life goes on and everyone else, nobody cares about what the heck I'm going through. Everyone has their own issues, or their own families, or their own situations. And I remember being out at a public place and just being like, nobody knows and nobody cares. And that was true. And it's not true that nobody cared about me and my situation, but was true was that the world kept going. And so there was so much suppressed pain that void that was created when I left the Climb Co., it started to fill up rapidly. And everything that I was suppressing began to rise, and not gently, like in a wave. Felt like a volcanic eruption of everything I hadn't processed. It wasn't the company that caused this pain. It was the collapse that really brought it all to the surface. But eventually, I did go through a lot of healing. I went through a lot of mourning of this. And I was able to extract the lessons and also heal the pain that I experienced. And it was a long road, long road, definitely a story for another time. But I just wanted to share with you that, it was a road that I took and I definitely healed from. So going back to harvest, why was this thing still stuck in my chest like a thorn? Why couldn't I let go of harvest? I had healed from the Climb Co. I had extracted the lessons and felt nothing but gratitude for Oak. I had just been able to move on and let go of Shadow Fox, but harvest, it just lingered, and just a constant reopening of that pain. So when I asked myself that question recently, it led me to an actual reframe that definitely softened the sting, and I'm so freaking thankful for it. And it went like this. I started to imagine harvest as a garden that I planted. And I love gardens. And so harvest was this beautiful garden with all sorts of variety of flowers and fruit plants and fruit trees and wildlife. And it was such a beautiful garden. I tilled that land all the time, and I took care of it. And so I thought of harvest like a garden. And just because I'm not the care person or the person tending that garden anymore, it doesn't mean I didn't plant it. Harvest touched lives big time. This was the start of so many people's journey. It was the beginnings of my journey, my experience in this whole world of events that I'm in. And it's touched so many lives. One dancer actually recently shared how they had come to Harvest and not knowing what to expect, not sure of where they belonged, not sure of how they fit in, not sure of how this experience was going to go. And they freaking left on fire. They were so happy. They had the best weekend of their life. They had so much new purpose that they actually pursued teaching in the months and like in the short amount of time. I don't know exactly if it was months, years, but it was all within, let's say, 18 months for sure. They pursued teaching. They actually joined my instructor training program, my Kickstart instructor training program, where I teach instructors or people who want to be instructors how to do what they're doing even better and how to engage the crowd and grow their community. And now this person is like thriving, getting booked at events all over the place. And I saw a post pop up the other day and Harvest was on there. And I'm like, oh man, I want to feel so happy for this person. I don't want to have negative feelings about Harvest. And for the longest time, like hearing stories like this person's about how much Harvest changed their life, it would hurt. It would hurt not because I didn't want others to succeed, but it almost made me feel erased. But the truth that I've realized is that their journey started because I was there, because I showed up, because I created and curated that space, and nothing can take that away. Nothing. You know, one of the biggest shifts in my life didn't come from some massive event. It actually came from picking up a pen. I'm serious. Guided journaling became this unexpected lifeline, a place where I could process the noise, rewrite the lies, and start actually believing the truth. And not just any truth, but the truth that God spoke over me and what He speaks over you. It was who I was created to be. It was my identity. It was my purpose. It was my gifts. That's why I created this As Is guided journal, because I wanted you to have that same space, a space to remember who you are, to speak life over your day before it even starts, to track where you've been and to boldly declare where you're going. Inside the As Is guided journal, we set daily intentions, weekly, monthly goals, and we keep those visions in front of us. So we're not just dreaming, we're aligning, we're becoming, we're calling it all in. And I created every single line and every word in this journal with you in mind. Your growth, your healing, your becoming. And if you grab one for yourself or for a friend, I just want you to know how incredibly honored and grateful I am, because I know the profound difference that this practice can make in your life. You can find the As Is guided journal right now on Amazon, and I'll actually drop the link in the show notes. So let's heal, let's grow, let's believe together, one page at a time. Thank you so much for checking out the As Is guided journal. And let me know which is your favorite, the inspirational or the traditional version. So I don't have to disown Harvest to be at peace with where things are right now. It's the garden I planted. It's just not the one I tend anymore. So letting go of Harvest was absolutely heartbreaking. It felt similar to the Climb Co. It felt like, watching something that I built with my whole heart slip away. And even with oak, it felt like I had watched something slip away that I had spent so much time and invested so much energy in. In all three examples that I gave, I had really poured myself into it. I'd given it everything, but still that ending came. But now seeing harvest as a garden, one I planted and watered and protected and loved. And while I didn't see it at first, some of what was planted didn't belong in that same soil. There were energies, there was intentions and dynamics that just really quietly worked against the purity of the vision that I was trying to nurture. But even then, I know I did my part of tending that garden with integrity. So here's what I've learned. First of all, I have gone on to build other gardens, really beautiful ones. Gardens that reflect my values, my growth, my clarity. And now I am far more protective of what gets planted beside me and who I do the planting with. And sometimes a weed pops up in these new spaces, and I remove it quickly. With love, with discernment, but I remove it quickly. And so as for harvest, it's no longer my garden, and that's okay. I don't need to judge what grows there now. If it's got weeds, it's got weeds. It's not my problem. I don't need to manage it. I don't need to be responsible for it. My legacy remains as honest and pure as the heart that I built it with. And if you have ever had to walk away from something that you built with your whole heart, whether it was a relationship, a business, a dream, or a version of yourself, I want you to hear this. You're not weak for walking away. You're wise. You're not erased because someone else took it over. You're actually the reason it existed in the first place. Just want you to hear that for a second. You are the reason it existed in the first place. Just breathe into that. You can be proud. You can grieve. And you can choose to reframe the pain into peace. So here is what I believe now. I didn't lose the garden, and you didn't lose your garden. You expanded it. Your hands may no longer be in the soil of that specific spot or plot or whatever it is, but your fingerprints are still on every petal that bloomed. Everything beautiful. And now you get to tend to new ground with stronger roots, clearer boundaries, and deeper wisdom. So the next time you feel sadness and despair and grief and pain when looking back, I just hope you remember this, that your legacy isn't limited to what you still control. It's carried the impact you've made, the lives you've touched, and the courage that it took to walk away. So you can honor your harvest even if you no longer stand in that field. You could still be proud, even if you had to walk away to protect your peace, or for whatever reason you felt like it was important to do so. For me, I'm super freaking proud of myself for that. Super proud of myself for that. That took a lot of courage. And I'm so thankful that I was able to finally get relief from the pain that I've been feeling. Well, thank you. Thanks for being here with me. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part of this journey and this exploration, this mindset shift with me. And again, if it resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it. I'd love for you to send me a DM, comment on this episode, send me a note, let me know what your harvest is and what your garden is and what's going on in your life. I'd love to just be in the know and support you in any way that I can. And All right. Well, I'm super excited. I hope that you'll come back and hear more and be a part of this experience. And as always, I truly, truly, truly hope and believe that you will choose to live all out as is, just the way you are. All right, y'all. Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. If you absolutely loved what you heard today, be sure to share it with me by leaving a review on iTunes or wherever you're listening so I can keep the good stuff coming your way. If you aren't already following me on social media, come soak up the extra inspiration on various platforms by following Adia Dance or visiting my website, www.adiadance.com. I appreciate you, and in all of your uniqueness, I cannot wait to connect with you in the next episode. In the meantime, go live all out your way.